Hello and welcome to a new series on this channel. In this series we'll be covering 7 to 8 battles a video, breaking down my strategies to help myself and hopefully you guys improve in your battles. Between Battle 1 and 2 my team does have a pretty big change, and that's purely because Battle 1 was only meant to be a test rather than being in the actual video, so we're going to still use Battle 1 as I think it is a very good battle, but the teams do change, so there is a little gap in time, so that's just going to be why we have a little bit of a difference in creatures. So here is my first team, the one that you'll probably see in the first fight, or well, 4 of the creatures anyway. It is a decent team, it's not brilliant, it needed a lot of improvements. I try to equally boost all my creatures, which is why a lot of them have 5 in both their attack and their health. All that said, let's get into the battles. Alright, so here we are going into our first battle. So we've got a pretty mediocre team, but then again, this is still the old team, so we're going to start with Aviary, as it is normally the best starter here, and luckily Nomengaya is a very good start. I don't know if I said that right at all. So we're going to use our Taunt Resilient Impact, as that does remove the cloak, because most moves, that our Nomen here does use gives it cloak, also reduces the attack, which this move also cleanses. Our counter also does increase our attack and go through both the armor and the dodge, so realistically this is probably the best turn 1 that we could have had at the start of this battle. So I'm looking over the moves, just considering what Nomengaya is going to use here. Most of the time people will end up going either for their instant or they're going to go for their immediate move. They're going to go for their Decimate for some reason, not too sure why they would do that, but it does deal the most damage, but I do kill with either the counter or the Disperse. Yeah, so it'd be the main hit, which is what we kind of want for this first move, so it saves our priority heal and our big hit for the next creature which is about to come in. So they bring in Diloran, which is kind of an annoying creature to go against. It is a very heal spammy creature. Tends to be quite hard to deal with if you don't have an appropriate counter. So we're going to heal so that I can guarantee live the Rampage and make sure that I don't just lose my Aviary here without dealing at least a little damage to the Diloran. They do seem a little bit worried about that for some reason, whether they were hoping for the kill there. I'm not too sure, but realistically, not too much of a big issue. So we do get a little bit of damage with the counter, but we're going to go for our Taunt Resilient again. Now, as you can tell, I'm not actually scripting this, I'm just waffling. So he goes for his heal as expected, and luckily I cleanse my attack damage, so I do deal a lot more damage than what would have originally gone for. Now here I do a little bit of a silly play. I'm gonna end up going for my Rampage move, completely forgetting that the Rampage move that he has, the Cunning Rampage, has a cooldown of 1. So when you're playing, probably try and keep that in mind whenever you're going against Diloran. You can swap abuse it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the ability to be stunned, but if you have a creature that can kill it, we just missed the kill there with the Rampage. I reckon if I had invested 1 more boost into the attack, I would have won that. Right, so we're going to bring in my T-Mat, because the T-Mat is decent enough as a creature. It's not brilliant, but we're going to swap into Thylos to both hide my T-Dac and also guarantee the kill without having to worry about healing here. So you get a nice chunk of damage there and get a nice bit of boost, getting double the attack, or well, roughly double the attack. I think it's 1.5 times, and a very good crit chance for the dual rending, which is what we're going to use against this Con Catalog, because as you can see, I do look at the group stunning, and I check my stun, and I have no stunning resistance, so if I go for Crushing Crowl, I would have died, but since dual rending assault can kill, we get it. I said a little well played, and we win the match. We get a nice little 8-hour incubator, so let's get into the next battle. So here is my updated team. I replaced Tyrannometrodon and Arctocanis with Grigonith and Remicanis. Now, I haven't boosted them yet because I don't spend a whole lot of money on this game. I only pay for the passes, and that's completely completed. Yes, so that means no mods for me. Unfortunately, it's only the ones that you get out the spins or the battle incubators. This is a lot better than what the team was. Now, let's get into Battle 2. Right, so here we are going into Battle 2. Now, I did forget to record the audio in Battle 2, annoyingly enough. So we're going to start Ambrax again, as always. It tends to be one of the best starters. It always ends up claiming the first kill for me. Now, in comes Tyrannos, and from my memory, this is one of those teams where all the creatures are pretty good. Now, unfortunately, the person playing doesn't seem to be as good, as for some reason goes for the Afflicting Nullification before I've gone for anything else. Now, he may have been expecting me to go for my Brace first turn. I don't know why someone would predict that. I would never do that personally, unless it's absolutely necessary. But you're never going to have damage turn 1, so not much point. So I go for the Intimidating Brace here, just to heal off some of the damage that he's about to deal with this instant Blighted Impact. Now, unfortunately, it does mean that I'm going to heal a little bit less than what I would normally heal, but I don't normally use this for the heal. I use it for the attack and armor, because it means I get to live the next turn. Right, so with the reduced stats, I decide to go for the superior vulnerability again, because he goes for Reflecting Nullification, removing all my stat buffs, but I ensure that I get my attack back up to where it should be, and get a nice big hit off. Now this group counter is actually pretty good in Brawl, I'm going to be honest. Anytime I'm playing against this thing in Brawl is an absolute pain. Right, so to save my Devouring Rampage, we go for the Taunt Resilient group impact, and the counter's likely to kill here, as we get a boost to our attack, and even then if it didn't, I'd still use my Resilient Impact. So we get the shield up. Hopefully the next creature that comes in isn't going to be too much of a pain. So annoyingly enough, he does seem to time out here, so I'm not sure whether he chose it on purpose or whether the game just didn't register, but he brings in his Sauron Revenge, and he goes for the Afflicting Trap for some reason, rather than chancing the kill. Now, I do remove any stat reductions, needed to remember the word there, and get everything back to normal, and have a bit more health than what we started the turn off with. So I decided to go for my group Devouring Rampage. Now this guy might have done a pretty smart play here by swapping out. He's removing all of my stat buffs. Pretty clever. He does lose a big hit on Sar here. But in comes a Tromalistus. This was on the day that it came out and was incredibly cool to see. I was checking to see if I could swap on this guy. I can't, unfortunately. So we're just going to send off a very big hit with the Devouring Rampage here. Get down to around about 1,000. He gets me down to 2,600, which isn't too bad, as my Devour does heal me a big chunk. Now I'm expecting him to go for his instant, but for some reason he doesn't, so I get the kill here, and his Tromalistus is completely wasted. So in comes his Sar again, and he's more than likely going to go for his revenge here, which is probably the best idea that he could have done in the first place. He shouldn't have gone for his trap. So I was considering swapping into my Rem here, but unfortunately it wouldn't do much for me, as he'd just get the Evasive Hunt and a pretty big buff. So the Venge comes out. That doesn't really do that much damage, as I've got a lot of armor and a shield up already. And I immediately take down most of his health and get my health back up. This just proves how much of a powerhouse Ambrax is, not only just within the arena I'm in, but in the meta in general, is that it can just live hits and then heal a bunch. It's a pain to get rid of if you don't have something like Grig or anything like that. So I do forget about the trap, unfortunately, here. But I do go for the Devouring Rampage. Now, it doesn't kill just by the skin of my teeth, and I can't swap out, unfortunately. I am basically at 0, but I'm gonna go for the... Taunting Resilient Group Impact here, just to get the damage reduction gone, and then here I take it out with the counter instead. So that's another very easy, quick and easy win. We get a 3-0, which isn't something that happens often in PvP, so it's always a big win when you get it. Up to 4,900, nice 3 hours, so let's get into Battle 3. So here we are, going into Battle 3. Again, I did forget to turn back on my audio. It will be fixed in the next battle, I do promise. Now this is a really good team, actually, so we're going to, eventually, once I actually make my decision, bring in Griganeth, which is a pretty good counter, and here we have an E2 Forex. Now originally I did think this guy was a dropper, but I think after seeing as much as I have in this arena, I don't think they're a dropper anymore. Now I do go for Maximum Ferocity, predicting the coming Rampage, as normally that's what Forexes are here to do. So I get my health back up and afflict some bleed onto it. Now, I'm also predicting that he's going to go for the critical sidestep next turn. We get a big old health boost there, back up to full. Now, I do consider going for my Rampage here, or my stun, but I see that if I get lucky, the Healing Strike will heal, and it also gets rid of any damage he may do if he doesn't go for sidestep, but unfortunately he does go for sidestep. And annoyingly enough, the RNG gods will not be with us, as we're not going to go through dodge here. As you can see, we do get a nice crit, which would have killed if it went through, but unfortunately we did not. Now, I also go for, I believe, the Healing Strike again, because I'm expecting some kind of hit to come out, and just let me heal up. He does time out here, so I'm not entirely sure whether he was just giving up here. This tends to be a trend with this guy throughout the battle, so I do get a rend kill right there, which is always nice when Grig has rending, which why he counters so much of the meta with the tanks recently. Get a nice little buff in my health, and once this guy gets through his turn, he's going to bring out his own Griganeth, which unfortunately will lead to a very long stall here, as this guy either just quit out, not wanting to play the match because he thought I was better or something. Very up my own bum to say, but hey ho. But I go for the Maximum Ferocity here to get my attack up, get the health, and see if I can just one-shot this guy. But unfortunately, he goes for Skewer, and even worse, he gets the stun, which means I can't do anything here, which really, really sucks with Griganeth. I decide I'd go for a swap and try the stun myself. A Rem is a really good counter from what I've played of Arena recently. I am playing Arena off camera as well, so even if we're going to be in one arena one episode, we may not be in the same arena the next. So we come in with Grig here, or not Grig, a Rem, sorry, and we get a nice swap-in dodge impact, which unfortunately, again, does not get the stun. I do not get lucky with this fight. But this guy can't do a whole bunch to me now. I have this shield up, and eventually I'm gonna hit him with a pretty big hit. Now he goes for his Rampage here, and it only does 1000. It's probably the best thing that could have happened here. Now, let's go down the notes that I've got. This is the beginning of a several minute long, I think it's like 2 or 3 minute long, just back and forth, because this guy just timed out a lot of the time, and just kept going back and forth and healing his Grig. My guy can do about 1500 on a heal, and with dodge I'm gonna probably end up outpacing him with the damage. But he does get Maximum Ferocity, which is most of the time a full heal. So we're going to skip ahead, because this really isn't a fun match of just going back and forth over and over and over again until one of us goes down. Right, so here we are, finally close to the end of this stare down between myself and the Griganeth. I do get my evasive instant precise rampage here, but unfortunately, when he gets through his move, he's gonna get a very lucky bypass and crit. Actually, that might have just been a crit that ended up getting me killed there. So I bring in my Spino T, as I have greatly reduced this guy's health, and Spinotops is just going to clutch out the game for us. Yeah, so we go for our Brute Ferocious Charge, which again is such a broken move in the meta recently. It basically one-shots most things with a properly boosted, properly leveled version of this guy. But yes, we bring this guy in, and he goes for a Ledominus, and at this point he already knows he's lost. So I lock in my, I think it's called Alert Nullifying, it's Alert Rampage or something, I didn't read it. So he's not going to do anything, he's just going to time out because he knows he's lost. I'm going to get a big hit off on him, just leaving him with a sliver of health. He goes for the strike and gets a crit, well done. But he goes down, unfortunately, to the counter. And that means we have won another match now. When I did these videos, this is the biggest winning streak I've ever had. And I'm really happy that I did actually get this for this first episode. We get a boring 15-minute incubator, but that's fine. We're going to go into the next fight now. Right, so here we go, and Battle 4. And again, I still haven't turned on the audio. I'm going to try not to make this an issue in the future, but I never have my actual thing on. So we're going to start with Greg, and the guy starts with T-Mat now. T-Mat is a very good creature. But I'm going to go for the Skewer. He does outspeed me, gets a very big hit with the Group Devouring Impact here. I realise that if I go for any move, he's likely to kill me here. So I'm hoping for the stun, as you saw, I luckily do get it. Now this sets me up brilliantly to be able to go for Maximum Ferocity to just apply some bleed and heal up my Griganeth, as Griganeth tends to be a very good creature for taking out a lot of tank creatures, or just if you're going on a one-on-one, it's gonna win against most things, especially in this arena. Now, high Aviary, is a bit of an issue and is a rather difficult fight. Now, I do realise that I can tank a swap out hit from T-Mat here, and I do, only taking 900 through my armour and my shield. Swap into Magna so I can take it down. We're going to get a little hit off, or well, big hit with the Rend there, and we're going to come in with Magna Raptor just to finish it off. Now I do actually want to boost up my Magna a little bit more in the future, and I'm hoping eventually I'm going to get it up to tier 5, tier 4. Tier 5 on both health and attack. He's emote spamming, we don't really care about that, and he brings in Referendum, and there's my sound finally coming on. So I do struggle a little bit against this guy, as he does reduce my attack a fair amount. And here he comes with the Super Distraction, gets a crit and does not kill. I get very lucky with that. I get 2090 damage just to hit off on the Referendum here, as you can see. Now we get our Instant Rend, which does heal. Unfortunately, it does resist Rend a fair amount, so we are going to lose our Magna Raptor this turn, but this does set me up pretty well for something else. I think this is the best kind of idea you can do with any creature. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I always think that most of the time you need to set up a creature. He does get another crit too, 1 in 5 in a row, it's crazy. Well, it's not that crazy, but it's pretty lucky, you know. So we bring in our RM, because the RM does actually pretty well counter this Referendum. So I choose to go for just the normal strike, as I don't think at this point I was aware or remembered that the slowing impact also reduces it. I'm not too sure why I did that. Now, I'm pretty sure he does have his priority moves here, and I am a little worried he's going to go for them, because the other two creatures I have don't deal with Referendums very well, but he doesn't go for it, and I manage get my knockout and a bit of a heal on my RM here. What was he doing? So he brings in his Alchemix, and Alchemix used to be a massive issue for me before I ended up entirely overhauling my team. Now he goes for the Neurotic Impact, getting a pretty big hit there. No, I'm gonna go for my Slothful Vulnerable Impact. I've never read that move properly before. I always thought it was slowing. So he hits me with the counter, I get down pretty low. I'm predicting that he's going to go for one of his precise moves. So we're going to go for the priority just to finish off some damage set out for the next creature that I'm going to bring in. But weirdly enough, in a second, eventually, he goes for the lockdown. And I'm not too sure why he could have done this, because he would have just killed me otherwise. And he's guaranteeing me at least a little bit more damage. But I choose that. Chief's Mockery is probably my best choice here, because I can do a little bit more damage and reduce his attack, and probably waste one of his detonation moves. That move is killer in any kind of situation, as it always crits. So we're going to go for our next move here, which is the Evasive Precise Rampage, which gives me a nice old heal, and barely misses the kill. Unfortunately, this tends to be a pretty big trend when you're in this kind of arena, where you just don't have the boost to put onto your creatures, but he does go for the Neurotic to get some health back. That's not going to be enough. Now my Thylos, of course, has the outspeeding bonus of being 145 speed, and the Dual Rending again does kill it. He goes for a swap out for some reason, and does a Yawn Emo. I give a little well played just to kind of be snarky. He again goes for the Yawn Emo again, not too sure why. I go for the Dual Rending here, getting a little bit of damage off. Big old crit there, getting it down to about half, so if I was boosted I probably would have killed there, maybe not. But music does cut out annoyingly, so I think I restart my phone, but we get a nice little rare incubator, so let's get into the next match. Right, so here we go into Battle 5, still in Arena of course. And we have a pretty decent team here. This is kind of a team that I actually quite like. Now in comes our Sarastego, as we're going to choose it there. And we're going to probably wait a few seconds for this guy to bring in his choice. There we go. So in comes my Sarastego, getting 1 health boost that I put on it a while back before getting my other creatures. And he starts with Rexy. Now I go for my Intimidating Wounding Impact, see if I can get a kill. Now he does get a lucky critical hit there, but Rexy does have a basically 50% chance, so it's a coin flip every time you fight. Now I was thinking about swapping out, but unfortunately I would have died here. If I get a pretty big hit, I've just pulled something out from the sounds of what my computer just did, but I don't know what that was. Hoping not my mouse. No, it wasn't. So, I go for the instant swap out move here. I was originally hoping for a Rem to come out here because I forgot the way round that this would work. That unfortunately, a Rem's not going to be the creature we bring in. We bring in Magnoraptor, and this is where my entire game begins to fall apart. I will say now, this is a loss. I do think it was probably one of the most avoidable losses that I could have taken. So he brings in his Sar, and unfortunately the Sar Panthera here is going to be able to kill me, so I just completely give up and hope. And he goes for it, and unfortunately Magna Impact isn't going to connect here. I do unfortunately go down, which really sucks. And here is where I make probably the biggest blunder of the game. Now I see that the group Resilient Rampage here would come out and deal a lot of damage. So for some reason I go for Thylos. And I really don't understand why I did this, as I knew that he had this move, but I just clearly didn't think that my Rem could take on Sar, and going back I think I definitely could have. It's a very good creature, it would have definitely countered this group rampage and tanked it, and I would have probably killed next turn. But unfortunately, we do lose another team member to this guy's counter. That's the word I'm looking for. So we do get a big hit off here of 1800 with that guaranteed crit. And a bit damage over time also helps. Because damage over time is always a good thing to have. But at this point, I'm somewhat already giving up, thinking this is going to be the one loss of this video. Well, one of the many, because I thought I was going to lose a lot more than I actually do in this video. So I bring in my Rem, which I should have done from the beginning, and I go for the impact. He goes for his vengeful double strike again, getting another lucky crit. Fortunate. But I'm going to go for the slothful vulnerable impact here to not only cleanse everything. There we go, we do have the wound cleanse as well, as you can see on screen. We barely missed the KO on Sar here, which really sucks. It would have been great. I do believe that the bleed's going to finish it off here. Yep, there we go. So we're now up to all. So in comes an E4 Deloran, and honestly, at this point I had completely given up. I go for my instant evasive precise rampage, and we get a big hit off. But unfortunately it's not going to be enough, as the darting counter goes through my dodge, and I get finished with the revenge. I give a little well played, but I was frustrated after this loss. And we're gonna just go over for a moment this battle to see how I could have actually won. I do get my battle incubator there, but unfortunately we need to go over why I lost this match and what I could have done a lot better. Looking back at Battle 5, I think I definitely could have won, or at least made it a lot closer than it was. Realistically, I lost the moment I brought out Thylos, as it's just not equipped to deal with Sar. A Rem would have been a lot better of a pick, as it would have lived a few hits, and maybe even taken down Sar and left my Thylos ready for the Delorachius. I think that's how you say it. And I likely could have won just using my Rend encounter, but realistically there was a few other factors that would have likely led to a loss, but it would have been a lot closer. So we're not going to dwell on this battle too much. We very obviously made a massive misplay bringing out Thylos when I should have brought out a Rem, but realistically, what can you do? Let's go on to the next battle. Right, so here we are in Battle 6, and we actually remembered to put on the audio this time. Well done past me. So we're going to start off with a pretty decent team here. I do kind of judge whether I think I should start with Griganith or go for Serastego. I go for my Griganith, and luckily we get a very good start getting a Compatosaurus coming out here. Now he goes for the group nullifying immediately, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would personally save that, but after going for my second turn, as Griganith would do a lot more damage here. With the maximum ferocity, or maybe he was predicting it first try, but I don't really know. I do get a nice lucky stun at the start here to start me off to go for. I choose the Devouring because I can't kill with the strike yet, but one time I will be able to. So we get our first very easy kill. So in comes a Deloran, and this is kind of where I kind of lose it a little bit, because Deloran isn't exactly easy to take down. There we go for maximum ferocity. Unfortunately it does not bleed, but we're going to have a bit of damage taken here, and unfortunately again we do lose our damage increase, which really sucks. So I think it's why Deloran used to be one of our better meta creatures before it very much got pushed out of the meta, but it's still a very good creature all in all. So I decide to go for my Devouring Rampage. Unfortunately, I don't get any good move here. I do get a nice little bit of Ren, but I only do 2,300. I'm stumbling over my words a lot. This is what these battle videos are going to be like, is just stumbling over my words. So unfortunately, Grig does go down there, so we bring in our T-Dac to try and hide our Serastego. I kind of like to keep my cards of what creatures I've got close to my chest, so other people don't have an easy way to strategize. So I bring in Magnoraptor on the swap in to take down Deloran before it can even get a chance to heal up or anything to take it down. I'm thinking about going for a Dominant Pounce first turn, as Dominant Pounce does 4,000 and reduces attack completely. And in comes a level 30 Indoraptor here. I'm not too sure why this guy hasn't just gone for Indocheon, because you can very easily get it nowadays. Especially if you're in an area where it has a lot of Richion or Amphigoon. So it gets a very big hit off on me, and I realise that I'm likely to lose my Magnoraptor this turn, or not the next. So I do go for a move that I don't remember why it was called, Magna Impact, because I was predicting a prolonged sidestep, but he hadn't gone for that. He went for the other move. I would have been a lot better going the Dominant Pounce on that turn. So I go for Flock of One to reduce his attack again, remove his attack increases, and try get a little bit more damage, just barely missing the kill, unfortunately. And our Magnoraptor is going to go down to this Indoraptor's strike in a second. There we go. So I do realise that if I'm going to win this, I've got to use a creature that I don't often use, so I use my T-Dac here. It used to be one of my better creatures, but it's gone majorly power corrupt in this arena. It doesn't help that I haven't really leveled it up past 25, which is where I got it from darting and getting the pass, and from tournaments. But there we go, there's another win. So let's get on to the 7th and final battle. So here we are in Battle 7. The last battle that we're going to do for this video. So we get a very good team again. I am liking my team a lot more than I used to. So we get our Amprex out first, as always, and he brings in a Nomin Rex, which used to be a very good creature within the meta and has recently seen a lot less play due to all the creatures removing most of the stat moves he goes for. So he goes for the Instant Devious Strike, I assume just to get that critical chance and to remove my attack buffs. Or not attack buffs. To get my damage down, that's the word I wanted to use. So I get a very big crit off here, and he gets a little hit off on the critical. There we go. I'm down to 4,000, and I go for the heal, because either way, no matter what he's going to go for here, isn't going to hit too hard. So he's going to go for Cautious Cunning Rampage to try remove my attack buffs, but I very easily live that. So we kill on the counter, and we set ourselves up very nicely with Amprex here, getting a nice health buff, and getting my armor and attack up, getting up to 5,400. This guy is definitely one of my favorite creatures in my team currently. So we're going to go for our Devouring Rampage, and this tends to be what I normally try and do with my Amprex, is set it up so it can just smack, but unfortunately, in comes a Griganith, and I don't think I can do a whole bunch to this guy. So I go for the Devouring Rampage. He luckily does not get the stun, and I am very happy about this fact because it would have gotten me in a very big issue, and I'm thinking I'm about to kill. But he lives on 42, one more health attack buff, and I would have been able to win 2 kills with just my Magna, and annoyingly enough, I need another attack boost on both this guy and Magna to get them to tier 5 where I want them. So he goes for the maximum ferocity, as he should, to get his attack up and set himself up very nicely. But he does not have the speed to back himself up here. So I get a nice little crit here, just to deal as much damage as I can, before going down to, I believe it's the Rend here. Oh no, it's going to be the Bleed we're going to go down to, unfortunately. Doing 2,760. Again, Grig is a brilliant creature, almost a Pokemon, different game, to have in this. And I realised my Magna is the only thing that can kind of handle this. So for some reason I don't go for it, and that's because I forget about the one thing that Magna does not do, and that's go through, I believe it's... No, it's through armor, that's what I was gonna say. It does not nullify, we do not nullify this, which is the reason why I am really upset with myself for this play. I could have made this fight a lot easier here. And I tend to do that a lot. Now, I will say these videos were recorded at like 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, I get pretty big damage hit off here. And his Grig is very close to death. Now, I go for the Magnum Impact, knowing that I'm not going to kill, but I'm going to get a fair amount of damage here. And there we go, down to 183 damage. I die on the round here. Oh no, I don't. I die to the skewer, which is very unfortunate, going down to a 2-1. Gets one more kill, he's going to win, but as I have said, we're going to be winning a lot more. So I bring in my Griganeth again, and swap into a Remo, as a Remo can very easily kill this guy with its move. So we bring it in. Of course, the escape here. I think this is one of the most exploitable parts of Griganeth, is that its swapping does not help it nearly as much as it needs to. It is good if you're trying to get a kill, and then Magnum Raptor comes in and you're just able to miss it. Apart from that, it doesn't help it as much as I think it could. So down it goes. But it's now 2-all. And I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. A Remo has tended to be one of my best creatures, and in comes Tyranna Valkyrie. I see this guy quite a lot actually in this part of the arena, and I go for the Slothful Vulnerable Impact, and this is where I actually know that my move removes damage over time, which is incredibly helpful. So he goes down a fair amount of health here. And loses a fair amount in my damage. So I'm aware he's probably going to go for his move that's going to get me pretty badly hurt. But I'm going to go for the Cunning Resilient Strike to just kind of remove any buffs that this guy may have, and also cleanse myself. I think it does cleanse myself. Maybe wrong. Okay, never mind. It's just cleanse myself. So I'm expecting him to go for either the Squeal or some other move, so I'm just going to hope that the swap goes off, and luckily it does hit. So I'm going to swap myself into my Griganeth, and realistically, I don't think that Tyranna Valkyrie is that helped with its buff, as in comes Griganeth, and gets Merciless Alert hit. My mic just fell down, so hopefully that doesn't affect anything in the audio. So big old rent hit there, just barely lets it survive. Now realistically here, I risked the entire match on something that I definitely shouldn't have done now. Realistically, I think this guy would have probably lived anyway, but the stun would have likely killed it. But I'm praying for the swap-in stun to get the stun, so that I'm not going to just lose straight up here. I did think I was going to lose here, and in comes a Remechanics. And can we get the stun? We do, luckily. So I think that is probably a 12.5% chance, I may be wrong, but luckily we do get it. And because he's already taken his turn, he is not able to move next one. So we get an even bigger hit. And this is actually why I won the match. As I go for the Slothful Revenge, he's still stunned, so I get incredibly lucky here in the fact that I got that stun, because I would not have won if I went for that. So here we go, to finish off the match, we give a nice little well play just out of respect of the fact that I completely blundered that, and I think he definitely deserved the win more, but we just got that little bit more lucky. So he tries swapping out, hoping that he can get the kill. I get the kill on the escape, and I'm hoping whatever comes in doesn't kill me. In comes the Dealer Ram, and out goes my Evasive Precise Rampage, which puts me cleanly out of range of being killed to a counter, and we again win a match, and we go up to Library, which you'll hopefully see in the next episode that we're still there. Or if it keeps going the way it's going, we're still going to be just at the top of Aviary. But there we go into it, and we get another 8 hour, which is lovely. So we're going to finish off the video now and transfer over to the outro. So that's all the battles I got for this video. I'll be making this a weekly or bi-weekly series, just something between my more heavily edited videos. If you made it to this point in the video, I'd appreciate if you liked and subscribed, as you probably enjoy my videos at least a little bit. With all that said, I'll see you all in the next one.